Hi everyone, Bowden from Quality Care Electrical here. We've teamed up with Armstrong Real Estate to give their renters some tips leading into winter. So let's get started. So our first tip for you is ceiling fans. So a lot of people don't actually realise that most ceiling fans are actually reversible, and the idea of that being that their typical function is summer mode, which pushes cold air down to the bottom of the room and gives you that nice cooling effect. So you can actually, typically on the top of the ceiling fan, there's actually a switch here that you can simply change while the fan isn't on. It usually is labelled summer and winter, as this one is. So I've just switched that to winter now, which will physically reverse the direction of the blades. And what that actually does is reverses the airflow of the fan. So the fan will now suck air up through the blades and push the hot air that is at the roof down and outwards towards the bottom of the room again, thus cycling the air around the room in the reverse direction and helping with your heating during winter. So our second tip for you here today is obviously smoke alarms. Leading into the colder months, people are using a lot more electric blankets, electric heaters, things like this. That obviously comes with a potential fire risk. So making sure your alarms are working is really important. One thing that tenants can do is manually check by pushing the test button to make sure the alarm is actually working. The other thing we do encourage you to do is every 3 months, just to give the actual alarm a bit of a vacuum around the alarm. The alarms themselves do not like dust and heavy particles. It can set off a false alarm. So that is something that tenants can do to make sure that their smoke alarms are in good working order. So this tip isn't so much safety based, it is more so just how you can effectively heat your home and obviously hopefully save some money. Obviously during these winter months, the electricity, gas bill, they can really rack up. So a lot of houses commonly have this heated vent. This is an example of a ducted system. So a lot of people actually don't know that you can actually close these vents by pushing the centerpiece up and rotating that clockwise. So by doing that, you'll see that there's two, for lack of a better word, flaps that close down and actually stop that vent from pushing any heat out. So this is a great idea for, say, a spare room that you might not be using or anyone sleeping in. We'd certainly encourage you to close that room off and obviously effectively heat the rest of the house better. And the same would go for like a doorway as well. So if you're not using a room, certainly close that off so you can effectively heat the main part of the house and the bedrooms that you are using. Our next one that happens quite commonly in winter, we tend to be using a lot of appliances at one time. So for a bit of background, anything that heats electrically, so whether that's a toaster, a kettle, obviously a dishwasher can do so, washing machines, dryers, ovens, the list goes on and on. All of these things draw quite a lot of power because they heat electrically. So quite often what we see doing electrical maintenance for real estate is that people believe they have a fault because they've been using a lot of appliances at once, and if something has tripped out in their switchboard or fuse box, as it's also commonly referred to. So this isn't actually a fault. All that simply happened is you've used too much power at once and you need to scale back the amount of appliances you're using at once. So we'll pop out to the switchboard and I'll show you what that might look like. So we've come out to the switchboard at this property and you can see here that we have something that's called a safety switch, and then you have these individual, we call these circuit breakers, that are labelled what they do. So in this case, power, power, light. So if we were to come out to this switchboard and this power was off like this, but the safety switch was still on, that simply means that you do not have a fault. You've just used too many appliances like we discussed inside. So that can simply be reset like that. And like we discussed, you'll have to scale back the amount of appliances you're using inside. If you do come out and the safety switch is down like that, that is actually a fault. And we do have a video on qualitycareelectrical.com.au that can assist you through that. So another tip for bathrooms, what we do actually see quite often in bathrooms is that the exhaust fan, typically above the shower, is quite blocked and heavy after a while with dust and debris. So quite simply, most exhaust fan covers, you can just grab the edges and simply pull them down like this. This one's a bad example because it's sparkling clean, but if yours was really dirty, I would certainly encourage you to pull that down, run it under some warm water in the sink, and then obviously reinstall that by just pushing straight back up like that. So the benefits of this is that the exhaust fan will work a lot better. All of us are having really long hot showers like myself in winter, so we just want to make sure that we're not getting mold in the bathroom because that exhaust fan isn't working well. So this tip is about split systems and particularly what you can do to get the most out of it. So a lot of split systems will simply have a cover like this that you can lift up and should just click into place just like that. We've got here, again, this is typical of most systems, 1 and 2 filters. If you just lift them up, there's a tab at the bottom usually like that, and they'll slide out like that. You can see it's probably hard to tell on the camera, but there's quite a bit of dirt in that. So you have to take both filters out, give them a run under a warm tap, get them nice and clean, let them air out and dry. This will obviously serve 2 purposes. One, your split system will work a lot better in terms of airflow and actual functionality. And 2, you obviously won't be breathing in this dust that's sitting in that filter. So that's an added bonus there as well. So thanks for listening, guys. I hope some of those tips were useful leading into these colder months, and yeah, stay warm. Cheers.